की परिस्थिति, चमक की अवस्था है, चमक में चमक की जो परिस्थिति है उसके भी फर्क करना चाहिए।
Both abiding meditation and especially insight are extremely important, and these two should be cultivated systematically, in which first one should cultivate abiding, and the text now explains about how to do it. Necessary factors for doing such a meditation. The text reads, therefore, maintain a yogic practice of both of them. Initially, the yogi should attempt to seek the prerequisites that can help actualize abiding meditation and especially insight quickly and easily. The prerequisites necessary for the development of abiding meditation are to live in a conducive environment, to have less desire and have more contentment. One should completely avoid too many activities. One should possess pure moral ethics and fully eliminate attachment and all other kinds of conceptual thoughts. Then it explains about what is a conducive environment. A conducive environment should be known by these 5 characteristics, which means you should have easy access to food and clothes, a good habitation free of evil individuals and enemies, a good place free from disease, good friends who possess moral ethics and who share similar views, and possess good qualities. That is, the place is not overcrowded in the daytime, and the place should have little noise in the night. In other words, the place should be quiet and isolated, being free from disturbances of people, and even free from disturbances of the falling and crashing of waters. Then it explains about the second characteristic, to have less desire. This refers to not being excessively attached to many or good clothes, such as monks, robes, etc. Contentment means always being satisfied with any little thing, like poor quality monk robes, etc. Complete elimination of many activities refers to fully discarding inferior acts like buying and selling, fully avoiding too close association with householders and old ones, and totally abandoning the practice of medicine, astrology, etc. Purity of moral ethics refers to not breaking the basic precepts of both natural and prohibited negative deeds. The two vows. Natural precept refers to those precepts if you break, refers to those precepts which if you break will have negative results, whether you have received a particular vow or not. Prohibited negative deeds refers to those negative deeds or those breakage of vows, those negative deeds which are a result of breaking the vows. If breakage of vow occurs due to carelessness, it should be quickly confessed according to rules we interpret. It is said that defeat or major transgression of the moral discipline of the hearers cannot be reformed. Even death should be regretted, and an awareness not to repeat it in the future must be maintained. The mind that has performed that action and all phenomena must be recognized as lacking true identity. That is known as perfect moral ethics. this should be realized from the text. Arya Ajat Shadura Kaupatniya, which is the text referring to the elimination of Arya Ajat Shatura's regret. As such, remove regret and make special effort towards meditation. Being mindful of the various effects of attachment in this life and future lives helps eliminate the misconceptions in this regard. Some common feature of both beautiful and ugly things in the cycle of existence is that they are all unstable, and in the nature of disintegration, it is beyond any doubt that one would be separated soon from all of them. To meditate why the eye should be. The prerequisites of special insight are relying on holy persons, seriously seeking expensive hearings, and engaging in proper contemplation. On what type of a holy person one should rely? If you ask this question, one should rely on one who has had many teachings. One should rely on those that possess clear expression, one who is endowed with quotation, and one who is able to withstand hardships. This means that when the teacher explains the meaning of the teaching to the student, he should be able to have patience when he encounters certain hardships. What is meant by seriously seeking extensive hearings? This means seriously listening and respecting definitive and interpretive meanings of the 12 branches of the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha taught the 12 branches of the teachings, and within these 12 branches of the teachings, there are two levels. The interpretative teachings, which you cannot accept as translatorily, and there are the definitive teachings or ultimate teachings, which you can accept as it is. And the text which explains the meaning of emptiness and whose words can be accepted as its meaning is called ultimate teaching. And teaching which explains mainly the conventional truth and one that cannot be accepted as it is. Such teachings are called interpretative teaching or teaching with interpretative meaning. The Prasangika Madhyamika Dev a text which primarily explains the meaning of emptiness is called ultimate teaching. Such a text is called ultimate teaching because it explains for the meaning of the ultimate truth, which means emptiness. And if a text explains primarily the conventional truth other than the ultimate truth, then such a text is called interpretative teaching, because the content of such teaching is not the ultimate one. It has to be interpreted. The Arya Samji Nirmochana Sutra says, not listening to superior teachings as malicious is an obstacle to special insight. The same sutra says, penetrative insight arises from its causes of perfect view, which in turn arises from listening and contemplation. Arya Narayan Paripraja mentions, through possessing listening, one gains wisdom, and with wisdom, delusions are thoroughly pacified. What is meant by proper contemplation? It is properly establishing the definitive and interpretative truth. In this way, when bodhisattvas are free of doubt, they can single-pointedly meditate on the They can single-pointedly meditate. On the contrary, they follow the path with doubt and indecision. It would be like a man on the crossroad cannot decide on one path. In the case of if you are a genuine practitioner, you cannot remain in doubt and indecision. You must decide on one path. You must have a thorough understanding and realization of the meaning of the text. You cannot simply while away the day. For example, if you consume the regarding the preparation of the food also, if you are merely to give a lecture, then it's much easier. You can give a lecture and you do not have to actually participate in cooking the food. Whereas if you are to actually cook the food, then one must precisely know what ingredients should be put and how it should be prepared. So therefore, when we talk about engaging in genuine practice through daily thinking and meditation, it should be done precisely and thoroughly. Sometimes, particularly these days, we make a mistake by thinking that if you are meditator, you do not have to study and you do not have to think and you do not have to hear. And those who study and hear extensively, they think that hearing and studying is enough and they do not have to meditate. One must realize that all these three, hearing, thinking and meditation, are meant for the achievement of enlightenment and Buddhahood. These three should not be seen as isolated cases. These three should be integrated for the development of the spiritual path. In other words, all the countless Buddhist philosophical texts are meant only for transforming and disciplining the mind and have no other object. Even though this is the case, but as Prabhupada said, that in our case, even though we have had a lot of hearing, but still we are deprived of practice. Let us take the case of the people who had engaged in many years of study through logical debate and analysis in the important monistic universities. They may have a lot of knowledge about the text, but their practice is quite poor. It is quite shame, big shame. So that means that their religious practice is on the mouth and not in the heart. You might have obtained a title called Geshe, which means a spiritual friend. But you are not a spiritual friend because your mind is deprived of spiritual practice. On the other hand, if you are a good practitioner, that could be immediately found out through your disciplined way of life and disciplined attitude. So therefore, Prabhupada has very correctly said that those people who are deprived of practice, even though they have had a lot of hearing, is clear indication that they have not precisely understood the purpose of the teaching. And then the next point explains about the kind of food that you should take when engage in meditation. One should not eat too much. One should be moderate or temperate in eating the food, and also make sure that the food does not come from contaminated people. Of course, in the case of ordinary people like us who do not engage in much practice, we do not know the difference between the different kinds of foods that we eat. But in the case of those meditators who meditate seriously and stay high up in the mountains, they can easily understand the differences that comes out by eating different foods. And according to their experience, they said that sometimes when you take a particular kind of food from certain people, your meditation doesn't become successful for few days. So therefore, in the text here it says, yogis should at all times abandon fish, meat, etc., and eat with moderation and avoid non-conducive food. In this way, the Bodhisattva who had accumulated all the prerequisites of unabiding meditation and penetrating insight should enter into meditation. Even though this is the case, there are many sutras where eating meat is not forbidden, but in the Mahayana Sutra, eating meat is forbidden, and a lot of emphasis is made about the importance of relying on vegetarian food. So therefore, provided if you have the necessary vegetarian food available, and then it is extremely good if you do not take meat. And then of course there are places where fruits and vegetables are not available, and people are compelled to depend on certain meat products for health reasons. That was to some extent the case in Tibet also in the past. So generally speaking, it will be very good, and it's extremely important to try to rely more on vegetarian food. And particularly one should be careful during certain festive occasions and certain important gatherings. Make sure that you do not prepare too many meat products in such gatherings. And particularly when we live in India, you find that Indians take special appreciation in vegetarian food, which is extremely good. And then at the same time, you must also bear in mind that if you are a rigorous practitioner, you should also take care of your health. Do not go to the extreme of putting too much hardship to your health. And at minimum, if you are to take vegetarian food, at least you should remember you should think on behalf of the dead animal and try to pray on its behalf. Then there are of course texts like Umaningo, where it says that you can use non-vegetarian food provided if it is free from the three aspects. That means if you are in a place where meat is available in plenty and the life of animal is already taken, and in that case, if you take the vegetarian food, it does not directly harm the life of the animal because it's already dead. So, on the other hand, if you become a contributing factor in taking the life of an animal, then you are not allowed to take that meat.
आप इस तरह से जो उचित वातावरण में उचित पठार उगाता है, जहाँ पर कोई घास फूस जो है वो उगता नहीं है, तो वहाँ पर जीविका चलाने के लिए जीने के लिए आप जो उनके पास जो पशु है और उनसे जो उत्पादन है
When doing the meditation, the yogi should first accomplish all the preparatory practices. For example, if you have to do certain travelings here and there, or do certain other activities or accumulating certain facilities. You should accumulate all this before actually going into the meditation. And then when you enter into actual meditation, you must first cultivate good motivation. And then it says, go to answer nature's call, and in a pleasant location, free of any disturbing noise, generate a positive thought, wishing to deliver all sentient beings to the essence of enlightenment, which means you must cultivate a wish to achieve liberation for the sake of all sentient beings. And you must cultivate the state of renunciation and reflect about how all sentient beings are under suffering and the nature, possibility that the sufferings can be eliminated, and in this way that you should think that how nice if I achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. So therefore the text says that you should manifest a great compassion and the thought wishing to liberate all sentient beings, and then you should pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions with the 5 limbs of your body. And with such motivation you should think that I will meditate on Kamaparity. One should engage in the practice of the 5 pay homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions with the 5 limbs of your body means that before entering into meditation you should accumulate positive merits and purify negative deeds, and the paying homage to 5 limbs should also be done properly, and you should place the 2 knees and the forehead on the ground. Do not just slightly bend down and stand up. And also when you fold your hands, you should put the 2 thumbs inside the hollow of the joint. Put the thumb within the hollow of the folded hand. You should not just make the 2 hands flat and touch each other, because it has its symbolic meaning. The hollow symbolizes the Dhammakaya. The jewel-like shape symbolizes the form body. So this symbolizes the achievement of the true bodies of the Buddha. And then you should place it on the 3 places of your body, at forehead, at throat, and at the heart. And then you should bend down and place your hand on the ground. And when you place your hand, you should let the palm lay flat on the ground. Do not just make a fist and press it on the ground. And then you should let the 2 palms of the hand touch the ground, and the 2 knees touch the ground, and the forehead touch the ground. So this is called the process of taking homage by the 5 limbs of the body. And then of course we have the full length prostration, in which one makes one's whole body touch the ground, and that is also called paying homage in the manner of falling tree. One should then place images of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like paintings in front, or otherwise make offerings and place their virtues as best as one can. Make offerings whatever you have, and also you can make mental offerings if you do not possess much material wealth. Then you should confess your negativities, the negativities that you have accumulated in this life, in the past life. and confess the negativities of this life retroactively. By this you must recall the negativity that you have done and then confess it. That is the negativities that you have accumulated in the past life, you may not be able to recall it, but simply recall that you have definitely accumulated negativities in the past life. A clear indication is that in this present life, when it comes to doing negative things, you automatically engage in it, and when it comes to doing certain good things, it is a difficult task. So this is a clear indication that you have accumulated negative deeds in the past. So you must confess it and make a restraint that you will not engage in such negative deeds. So then you can do certain prostrations, make certain manipulations, construct images in other words, you should engage in different kinds of activities in purifying your negative deeds. So, in order to make them fall, you must rely on the images and so forth. In other words, you must rely on the four powerful integrated powers, and then you should rejoice in the merits of all other beings, which means you should rejoice at the good deeds done by other human beings, and also rejoice at the good deeds that you have done. In other words, you should not feel jealousy, and you should not feel competitiveness when you see some other people doing virtuous deeds, and also you should not repent the good deeds that you have done. You should instead feel proud of what you have done, and you should think that I have made my human life meaningful, and this way you should cultivate rejoice within your mind. And then you should sit in the libertine posture or half cross-legged posture on a comfortable position. The posture should be slightly raised at the rear and slightly lower at the front. This would help you not to get easily tired when you engage in meditation. And also engage. And you can also use certain push-up to help you free from contaminations, as is being done by Buddha himself when he was offered push-up to work by a person called Chivtashi, and he meditated on such a question of Turvakas and achieved enlightenment. And Nicholas Purva also has the symbolic meaning of longevity of life and so forth. If you explain it in connection with the tantric practice, then you should place both, whether you use kusha grass or turva grass, you should place the tip of the grass towards yourself. This is the symbolic meaning of being able to control the energy and the mind within. So you should sit on such a comfortable position, and the process is you should observe the Vilochana posture or half cross-legged posture. It is also called Vajra posture or half cross-legged posture. The eyes should not be too widely open or too tightly closed. Do not open your eyes too widely. Let the eye gaze in a normal posture. Let it fall gently on the tip of the nose. If you have a flat nose, then I would not suggest that you should exert your eye to try to see your nose, because it will be a difficult task. If you have a big nose, as an advantage. Let then focus on the tip of the nose. The body should not be bent too much forward or too much backward. which means that let us say if you throw a stone from the tip of the nose, it should fall straight towards the navel. So such should be the steadiness of your body. Keep it straight and cultivate mindfulness within. The shoulders should be kept equal in height, and head should not be high or low or lopsided. It should be straight in line from the nose to the navel. The teeth and the lips should also be kept in their natural state. The tongue should touch the upper palate. Inhale and exhale very gently and softly without causing any noise, unless you have asthma, which is exception. So you should inhale and exhale very gently and softly without causing any noise, without laboring and without unevenness. So inhaling and exhaling should be done spontaneously and slowly, without notice, and in a natural process. These are the conduct that you should have while meditating both on abiding and speculative side. The next point says, abiding meditation should be achieved fast. Abiding is that mind which has removed distraction to external objects and instantaneously and continuously enters inside towards the object of meditation with much delight and great proficiency.
वो आपको थोड़ा सा पीछे की तरफ से जो थोड़ा सा ऊंचा है तो बड़ी देर का रहने में थोड़ा सुविधा होगी शरीर को सीधा रखने के लिए। तो इस तरह से देर से भी सोना है आपके वो भी किसी घास के या उसमें थोड़ा हवा देने की कुछ गुंजाइश हो तो उसका जो है वो अच्छा व्यवहार हो सकता है। तो जब हमारे शरीर जब वहाँ पर बैठेंगे तो गौरवतना की इस तरह के जो पर्याप्त करने की
To properly examine suchness while in abiding meditation is called special insight. That means while your mind is engaging in one point towards the object, you also engage in analysis. That is called special insight. Arya Ratna Megha says, abiding meditation is a single-pointed mind, and special insight makes individual analysis of the ultimate. Also from the Arya Samyutta Nirmochana, it says, O Buddha, how should I thoroughly search for abiding meditation and gain experience on special insight? The Buddha answered, Maitreya, I have taught the following teachings to Bodhisattvas. The section on sutras, the section on melody of praise, the section on prophetic teachings, the section on verses, the section on specific instructions, the section on controversial subjects, the section on spiritual insight, the section on legends, the section on Jatakatya, which is the birth stories of Buddha, the section on extensively elaborate teachings, the section on impeccable dharma, and the section on established doctrine. Bodhisattvas should properly listen to these teachings. Remember their content, train in verbal recitation, thoroughly examine through the mind and with perfect comprehension. They should sit alone in isolation, mentally reflect within and think only on these teachings that they have contemplated. This mind that has engaged so should continuously be engaged. In other words, meditate and focus on one subject, let the mind stay one-pointedly towards on that. Now, for example, let us say the object of meditation is the impermanence of all phenomena. And if you reflect on the nature of all impermanence of all phenomena and simply focus on that impermanent nature as summarized subject, that is called abiding meditation. And if you further engage into the nature of how these things are impermanent, how they disintegrate moment by moment and so forth, then that becomes the object of meditation, especially insight. The same sections of teaching could also become the object of meditation of abiding, and also become the object of meditation of special insight. For example, there could be abiding meditation focusing on emptiness, and there is a special insight focusing on emptiness. And likewise, there is a special insight focusing on conventional truth, and abiding meditation focusing on conventional truth. Abiding meditation is actually called stabilizing meditation, and the special insight is called analytical meditation, which means that you continuously investigate and analyze and examine the object of meditation. Therefore, this is called mental engagement, and through such engagement, repeatedly abiding in it, one achieves physical and mental brilliancy. This is called abiding, and this is the way how the Sattva thoroughly said about abiding. With achievement of physical and mental brilliancy, through this practice, one abides in it and eliminates mental distraction. When one contemplates the very phenomena as the object of that inner single-pointed consideration, and individually analyzes it as a reflection, when one aspires to eat, and when that reflection like object of knowledge, single-pointed concentration is discerned, thoroughly discerned, completely recognized, thoroughly experienced. Forbearance and the light, one observes and understands it, that this is known as penetrative insight. Thus, bodhisattvas are skilled in achieving special insight. Through the power of abiding meditation, then one achieves the physical and mental brilliancy. And while possessing this quality, when one engages in the practice, then one is able to eliminate the mental distraction. So here the text explains about the practice of special insight, in which that very phenomena, which was the object of one's contemplation, is individually analyzed and sees it as a reflection. Now here one does not let one's mind stay one-pointedly on it, but one engages in examination. Descent means to descend the condition of truth, and thoroughly descend means to thoroughly descend the ultimate truth. The yogis who are interested in actualizing karma abiding should initially set their mind closely in accordance with the chapters on sutta, chapters on melody of praise, etc., before concluding that all these teachings are leading to suchness, will lead to suchness, and in the past also, people have to avoid such teachings that will be part of suchness. One way of doing this meditation is to closely set the mind on the aggregate, etc., as an aspect that includes all phenomena. Another way is to place the mind on the image of Buddha as seen as heart. The Arya Samadhiraj mentions about this meditation on the image of the Buddha. When you engage in the meditation, focusing on the aspect that includes all phenomena means you can include all conditioned phenomena as impermanent and so forth. That could also become the object of meditation or abiding, depending upon the mental disposition and interest of the meditator. One can choose different objects of meditation. So therefore we have different objects of meditation, what we call as the object of meditation of the wise, and the object of the meditation of those that engage in extensive analysis and so forth. Then it says that you can also do your meditation by focusing on the image of Buddha that you have seen and heard earlier. And that also is a very good object of meditation. As cited from Arya Samadhiraj Sutta, which mentions by his body in golden color, the Lord of the universe is extremely beautiful. One who places his mind on this object, that bodhisattva is referred to as one with meditative absorption. That means if you choose the image of Buddha as an object of meditation, let us say an image of 4 fingers size, you should visualize it as completely clear, full of illumination. So it should be clear, pure, and illuminating. That would help removing the mental sinking or mental laxity. And likewise, you should visualize and see that image as having some red. That would help remove mental excitement. And then visualize that image passing towards you. And you should visualize that image at a distance where the tip of your fingers can touch, and the height where you should visualize such images, the height of your eyebrows. And so in order to meditate on such image, first you should study carefully standard image which is well built and nicely constructed. And if possible, then you should also try to recall the major and minor characteristics of the Buddha. During the actual meditation, you should not see this image of the Buddha as just an image, but you should see that as a living Buddha. And you have to focus on that. In other words, when you actually meditate, you are meditating on the mental picture that you have as a result of having studied the image earlier. Now, for example, this is similar to recalling an experience or something that you have seen in a different place 2 days back. Even though that place is not here, you can still have a vivid memory of that place. Likewise, you should first study carefully aspect and the characteristics of a particular image or painting of the Buddha. Or you can also have a mental picture based on the description given by a qualified master. And when you do the actual meditation, you should try to reflect on that mental picture. At the very initial stage, as a skillful means, it is also possible that when your mind is too distraught and agitated and is not in a position to stay pointedly even for a moment, at that time you can almost something like meditating with your sense powers. You can let your eye look towards that object and try to at the same time meditate. But this is not the real method of meditation. When you actually meditate, the meditation has to be done by the mind and not by the eye. In this way, one places the mind on object of one's choice, and having placed the mind on that, continuously, repeatedly, one places the mind on it. And having placed your mind on the object of meditation, you should also try to use part of your mind and try to judge your main part of the mind, whether it is staying one pointedly on the object or not. What is important is that you should have a mind which is fresh, clear, and active. It is possible that your mind may stay on object, but the mind may have become a little bit dull, which would then also become an obstruction to the achievement of concentrating meditation. So the mind should be a lot clear and one pointed towards the object. One examines the mind to see whether it is properly floating or whether it is sinking or is being distracted to excitement outside the object. And this is done by mindfulness. Whether the mind has any hindrance or obstruction, whether the mind has achieved standard process of meditation, this should be done by the conscientiousness. If the mind is found as having sunk or is expected to be sinking due to dullness, or one is empowered by sleep, then the mind should aspire to a supremely delightful object like that of when the mind becomes dull. Again, when the mind is overpowered by dullness, the alertness of the mind is lost, and you start to feel that you are getting some rest. Mental excitement is mental excitement refers to the wandering of the mind to objects which are not object of attachment, and mental agitation refers to the distraction of the mind towards object of attachment. And within this also there are grosser levels of excitement and agitation, and subtler levels of excitement and agitation. And with mental sinking and dullness also there are grosser levels and subtler levels. And it is also possible that the main mind has not lost the grasp of the object, but the part of the mind starts wandering and starts getting dull. So you must study thoroughly about these different invasions of mental excitement and dullness. The mind starts thinking through the power of sleep or mental torpor. The power of mindfulness and consciousness becomes weak. Then dullness and excitement arises. So therefore it is extremely important that before the invasion of excitement and dullness, it should be known by mindfulness and consciousness. So therefore here also it says, if the mind is found as having sunk, or is suspected to be sinking due to dullness, or when one is overpowered by sleep, then the mind should aspire to a supremely delightful object, like the image of Buddha. The dullness or mental sitting is about to rise, then it should realize that and rely on counter forces. The cause of mental sinking and dullness is sleep, and sleep means when the mind withdraws within. In other words, when you get sleepy, or when you get sleep, then the mind is drawn within and becomes dull. Likewise, when mental sinking takes place also, the mind weakens its height and withdraws within and becomes unclear. In order to remove such mental sinking and dullness, which means mental sinking and dullness or sleep comes when the heightened spirit of the mind is lost and mind starts withdrawing and the height of the mind, spirit of the mind is too low, then mental sinking starts. And at such a time it's important to heighten the spirit. And for that you should recall or visualize the image of a Buddha, or you should have the concept of illumination. See the image of the Buddha as full of light and illumination. And if you meditate on that, then the dullness of the mind, the sinking of the mind could be awakened. And likewise, if you meditate or think about inspiring topics, like, for example, thinking about that the human beings are often at leisure and romance, and that the certain beings have the Buddha nature and so forth. If you think about this, then your sitting can be removed. This is just like hearing a good news. When you hear a good news, then the spirit of the mind is heightened. So mental seeking should be eliminated, and the mind should, by any means, be able to see that very object very clearly. So the mind cannot see the object very clearly, like being blinded, or like a blind like being blind or like a man, let us enter into darkness, or like a person with closed eyes. This should be understood as having entered mental city. When through conceptual investigation, the mind chases after qualities of outside objects like form, etc., or mentally reflects about others, or when the mind gets excited by objects of past experiences due to attachment, or when there is fear of getting excited, we can think that all composite phenomena are impermanent in the nature of suffering, or these are other things that can help generate renunciation in this process. Destruction, in this process, destruction should be eliminated, and by the robe of mindfulness and consciousness. Destruction should be eliminated, and by the robe of mindfulness and consciousness, the elephant-like mind should be fastened to the very tree on its object. When the mind is found perfectly engaged on the object, free of dullness and mental excitement, it should be left naturally, and one should relax the effort. At that time, sit as long as you choose. One of the texts it says that you should eliminate the 5 faults and rely on the 8 conditions. You must not forget the object, and should use the antidotes, heightening the spirit and reducing the height of the spirit of the mind, and do not over-apply the antidote. And in the initial stage, you need to apply the antidote, and then at a certain stage when your meditation is successful, you should not over-apply the antidote, you should relax the effort. And it is in this way that when you achieve the 9th level of the practice of the placement, achievement of the, at that time, sit as long as you choose. And achievement of calm abiding should be understood when the body and the mind of the person practicing with calm abiding is thoroughly trained, and when one gains the power to engage on the object as one chooses to. Then gradually, when you are able to reduce the hindrances and obstructions, and when you are able to let your mind enter towards all nature's object, without any difficulty, then you have achieved calm abiding meditation. In the earlier case, you are overpowered by your mind, and the mind is overpowered by afflictive emotions. Now, through practice in meditation, you achieve a state contrary to this, which means you are able to control the mind, and the mind is able to control the afflictive emotions. Therefore, the purpose of achievement of calm abiding meditation is that you can let your mind engage in or stay on the object which you choose to. As said by Tsongkhapa in one of the texts, that the nature of living achieved calm abiding meditation is that when you let your mind stay on the object, it should stay on the object like a mountain without movement. And if you let the mind go and enter into different objects of religious practices, then it should be able to enter towards all religious practices. And through this way, able to induce a great bliss which makes the body and the mind functionable. Therefore, the purpose of abiding meditation is not merely for the elimination of conceptual thoughts and disturbing thoughts, but the purpose of abiding meditation is to achieve Buddhahood, to achieve omniscience. It is meditated not merely for pacifying your mind from certain conflicting conceptual thoughts, and so the purpose is not merely to induce physical and mental peace. That is not the ultimate object of meditation. If that is the object of meditation of abiding, then of course you do not have to practice further. After realizing abiding, meditate on special insight and think as follows. All the words of the Buddha are perfect teachings, and they directly or indirectly reveal suchness with utmost clarity, and all these teachings would lead you finally on the meaning of suchness. When suchness is known, all nets of views are shattered like the disappearance of darkness through appearance of light. Mere abiding meditation cannot achieve purified transcendent wisdom, nor can it eliminate the darkness of obscurity. When suchness is properly meditated for, with wisdom, purified transcendent wisdom is realized. The definite goodness is achieved through meditation on emptiness. Definite goodness refers to the achievement of nirvana or Buddhahood. Therefore,